Yo, Vycery here. Today I want to share my lance builds for Endgame and explain what makes them my go-to for my hunts. In total, I have 4 builds for you, each being viable with different purposes. Like I said, those are endgame builds, so you need to finish the hiring story in order to unlock all the armor pieces and the weapon we are using. For this video, we are only looking at raw lance sets. Let's get started. Before we go into the armor, let's talk about the weapon. I'm using an R10 weapon with blast or para on it. Since all R10 weapons come with 5% affinity, using an affinity infusion is not that good. More on that later. You want all attack infusions to craft the weapon. For the reinforcement bonus, the best case would be 4 attack and 1 sharpness. Getting 2 sharpness or 1 sharpness and 1 element is also usable. You don't want any affinity increase. As for the skills, I went with a level 3 offensive guard, 1 level 3 critical boost, and 1 level 2 critical boost. If you have 2 sharpness boosts, you can use an offensive guard combi decoration, and if you have 1 sharpness boost, you can use an offensive guard handicraft. There are no combi decorations for critical boost, so we have to use the normal ones. For the sake of simplicity, I will use this exact weapon for all builds. The first build is also the most comfortable. We are using 2-piece Gaudium Fulgur Engineer, 2-piece Go Magala, and the Arc-Weld chest piece. Everything beta except the Gaudium Fulgur Vambraces. Weakness exploit on level 5 gives us 30% affinity on weak spots and an extra 20% when hitting a wound for a total of 50% affinity. Agitator level 4 gives 16 raw and 10% affinity when the monster is enraged, which is surprisingly easy to achieve. Maximum Might level 3 gives 30% when your stamina is full for 3 seconds. And that is the reason we are going for the Fulgur Engineer set bonus. This will give an additional small stamina bar to use. The good thing is that Maximum Might only applies to your normal stamina bar, not to the extra one. That means you can block, dash, or evade without losing your affinity. Antivirus with the 2-piece Go Magala set bonus Black Eclipse is a strong combination. Black Eclipse will activate when fighting a large monster and will inflict you with Frenzy. If you deal enough damage to a monster, you can cure it and gain 15% affinity. Antivirus level 3, upon curing Frenzy, gives you another 10% for a total of 25% when cured. The skill description of Antivirus 3 does say 15%, but that is not correct. Lastly, we get Constitution 2 from the Go Magala coil, which helps to keep stamina and 1 flinch free from the Go Magala legs. If you play with other people, I highly suggest Shockproof, so you can dash without being afraid of flinching other people, and you can't be flinched yourself. That leaves us with 1 level 2 slot empty. There are multiple builds we can use. Ambush for an additional 5% attack for 30 seconds upon landing a sneak attack, Part Breaker to make breaking monster parts easier, Stamina Surge to help with your stamina management, or Evade Extender to cover more distance. With all those skills, you get 100% affinity when hitting a weak spot when the monster is enraged. You don't rely on wounds. There is another version of this build, in which we swap the chest and arms to Fulgur chest, and the arms to Guardian Arc-Weld Vambraces. The biggest difference is that we lose 2 points of Agitator, but gain 1 burst and 1 level 1 slot. For the level 1 slot, you can use Constitution to make Maximum Might more reliable, or self-improvement for longer hunts. Since we don't have 4 Agitator anymore, we also lose 5% affinity. But if you have a lance with 10% affinity, you still hit 100%. In terms of damage output, this set with 1 affinity bonus on the weapon does slightly less damage, and you rely on burst to offset the missing Agitator. The second build uses 4-piece Go Magala to gain Black Eclipse 2. This will give us 10 raw when afflicted with Frenzy, and 15 raw when we cure it. We also gain 3 points of Await Window, 1 point of Coalescence, which increases our blast or para buildup as soon as we get rid of Frenzy, and a lot more level 1 slots, as well as 1 level 2 slot. The level 1 slots can be used for adaptability to ignore all environmental damage, shockproof, or self-improvement. 1 level of burst also gives a nice plus 8 raw after 5 attacks. This build has less affinity, so having some affinity bonus on the weapon can help a lot, but even without, we have one more thing to take into consideration. Corrupted Mantle. When you use it, you lose HP, and you have to eject the monster to quote-unquote cure it. After that, you gain a whopping 30% affinity and more raw. The downside is that it takes 600 seconds to recharge. If that's too much for you, take the comfy build. Lastly, we have a combination of 2-piece Gormagala and 3-piece Jindahat. The Jindahat set bonus binding counter increases our raw by 25 for 1 minute after a power clash. The core principle stays the same, but this build is more for the solo players. Power clashes are not that easy to get in multiplayer, and other weapons like Greatsword or Charge Blade can potentially trigger one, locking you out of your raw buff. On top of that, only a few select monsters have power clashes in the first place. Chatakabra, Doshaguma, Guardian Doshaguma, Ufduna, Blangonga, Azura Khan, Arkweld, and Guardian Arkweld, which is not accessible anymore once you finish the story. So overall, only 7 monsters can trigger the set bonus, but if it happens, you hit like a truck. One more thing is Resuscitate. Before the patch from March 10th, Resuscitate would activate on Cured Frenzy, which gave you permanent 10 raw no matter if Frenzy is active or not. They'd made it one of the best skills to have. Now that is not possible anymore, but if you find a monster that can easily blight you or inflict you with a status effect, you can make good use of it. 3 level 2 slots give you some customization. Those are all the builds I have for you today. I'm looking into elemental lance builds as well, but there is more testing to be done. As soon as I know what to go for, I will make another video about the elemental sets. I hope you have success with my builds and you learned something. If you have ideas for changes or questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, have a good one.